It may not seem like it with the current market situation. However, XRP still remains one of the most bullish crypto altcoins in this space. 2025 has been a very crazy year for crypto, and I don't think that I need to tell you guys that. If you go and look at how 2025 has been shaping up, it's been a very disappointing year in terms of price action. However, the news and the major announcements and the developments around crypto have been very bullish, and it's been very exciting to see these developments as well. Now, XRP is in a very interesting position because XRP is still one of the most bullish crypto altcoins to date. And we have been seeing so much positive news around XRP. And I've said it many times over, and I'll say it again. All of this news, if we're not seeing the price change at all, it's all pressure building behind these projects. Now, I already know that you guys are probably saying, and the keyboard warriors are down in the comments already saying, oh, nice excuse, it's all pressure. But if we go back to November of 2024, right, when we started to see HBAR and XRP and XDC and XLM and all of these altcoins pumping, everyone was asking me, Nick, why is XRP pumping right now? Why is HBAR pumping right now? And all I kept saying was, go and look at what happened in just the last 3 months around some of these projects. The positive news eventually builds and builds and builds, and then the pressure finally gets released, and we start to see a major surge on the board. Now, when it comes back to XRP, we know that XRP has been very bullish in 2025 because of all of the announcements. However, price action has been pretty boring. We go back to November 30th from this post with Cointelegraph, and we have insight. Spot XRP ETF proposals are increasing while other crypto issuers remain on the sidelines due to regulatory clarity and institutional demand. So we are starting to see more ETF proposals and a lot more demand around XRP spot-based ETFs because of the regulatory side of things. Got to remember that XRP already has a huge green light compared to most of these other projects because of the SEC lawsuit. But also, when we think about how successful the ETFs have been, I mean, this video is recorded a little bit ahead of time, but we are still seeing over $60+ million in daily trading volume across the board for the ETFs on massive down days. It's crazy to see this because, again, you would expect these ETFs to be a complete washout because of how the market is trading. However, these ETFs are still on fire, and it's very exciting to see. And we can just see it across the board on how successful these ETFs are and how, the daily volume as well across the board is still starting to pick up in a big way. And we still have additional ETFs in place that have yet to get announced. Now, I know that CoinShares did, they took back their ETF filing. They pretty much said, all right, well, we don't want to launch an XRP ETF because we don't want to compete with the big players like BlackRock and, like those types of names. But I find that very interesting because, again, we know that BlackRock and Fidelity and these other big players, they don't have an ETF filing for XRP at all. Grayscale is the only one. So I find it very interesting. I don't know if they are giving us a slight insight that maybe at some point in time they will issue out an XRP ETF, which, I do think that every single big player like BlackRock will have their own filing for an XRP ETF as well. I think that it's inevitable, but we do know that they basically removed their ETF for XRP, but 21 Shares still has yet to launch. Wisdom Tree is another big one. So, we still have ETFs lined up. But so far, I mean, it's crazy to see how successful these ETFs have been. And again, it's during massive downward spirals across the board for crypto. Just imagine how successful these ETFs will be when the market is bouncing back and when we see euphoria hit the market again. And also, by the way, just to kind of give you guys a quick number, over $800 million in assets were recorded since mid-November for these XRP ETFs. It's crazy. We also have here that exchange balances dropped 45% in 60 days to 2.6 billion tokens as investors moved 1.35 billion into private wallets or custody from those exchanges. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see, but these ETFs have been absolutely on fire, and it's starting to rally against some big players. I'm not going to say Bitcoin and Ethereum, but let's just be honest here. These ETFs are starting to carve away towards Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I'm watching for that closely, because if we start to hear the flippening narrative and we hear these talks again, things can get pretty interesting very fast. Now, on top of that, RLUSD. I've been putting a spotlight on RLUSD for quite a bit of time now on the channel. And the reason why I'm bringing back RLUSD and talking about it is because of a few things. Number one, the market cap. It's up almost 30% in the last 30 days. The holders are up over 420+% in the last 30 days. Monthly active addresses also up over 31+% in the last 30 days. Something interesting is happening here. We could see the holders tab going insane on the XRP side of things. Now, we don't know if this was just a glitch or an error or what, but this is crazy to see. Now, on top of that, we have been seeing more RLUSD issued out on the XRP ledger. For an example, in the last 30 days, the supply change on Ethereum was about 25%. On the XRP ledger, it was about over 48+%. This is very good to see. We're still far away from catching up to Ethereum, but I do think that eventually we will. But I'm bringing this up because we know that Reese Merrick, which by the way is a Ripple employee, recently put out a post on X talking about their acquisition of Hidden Road and how it is fully completed. Last month they completed it. Now Ripple Prime, who serves 300 institutional customers, clearing $3 trillion across all markets per year. Now, going off of this, we do also have Ripple is now the first crypto native company to own a global multi-asset prime broker, FX, digital assets, derivatives, fixed income, and more. We have already seen significant growth since the announcement, and XRP, this is very important, guys, lock in, and XRP and RLUSD will be used as collateral for institutional clients. The institutional era just leveled up. At the same exact time that he posted this, we got another big move from Ripple. I said here, another strategic move made while the market is down. Ripple continues to clear a path for digital global domination with their tech stack. Here we have from Ripple, huge news from Singapore. The Monetary Authority of Singapore has approved an expanded scope of payment activities for our major payment institution license, enabling us to deliver end-to-end fully licensed payment services to our customers in the region. Now, here we have the full announcement. Ripple expands scope of payment activities in Singapore for its major payment institution license. We have the full breakdown. With this approval, Ripple can broaden its regulated payment offerings and deliver greater value to customers in Singapore. As one of the few blockchain-enabled institutions globally with an MPI license, Ripple continues to reinforce its commitment to compliance, transparency, and strong regulatory partnership. The Monetary Authority of Singapore has set a leading standard for regulatory clarity in digital assets, and we deeply value Singapore's forward-thinking approach. Ripple has always taken a regulation-first approach, and Singapore is proof that innovation thrives when rules are clear. This expanded license strengthens our ability to continue investing in Singapore and to build the infrastructure financial institutions need to move money efficiently, quickly, and safely. Ripple Payments combines digital payment tokens and a global payout network to deliver fast, transparent, and reliable cross-border payments and on and off ramps for banks, crypto companies, and fintechs around the world. With a fully licensed end-to-end solution, Ripple handles the underlying blockchain and operational complexity so businesses can launch digital payment services quickly without taking on the cost or burden of infrastructure management. They handle the underlying blockchain because, again, This is where we see XRP and the XRPL tapped in. We have the key benefits of Ripple payments, end-to-end payment solution using DPTs, those digital payment tokens, such as RLUSD and XRP to settle payments in a matter of minutes without the cost or operational burden of infrastructure build-out or maintenance. Single onboarding, replace fragmented partners with one trusted provider. Ripple streamlines operations by supporting the entire payment flow, collection, holding, swapping, and payout through a single integration. Simplified digital asset access, connect to DPTs seamlessly and choose whether or not to hold DPT, aka XRP, or even RLUSD. Ripple eliminates the need for additional bank relationships, specialized infrastructure, or direct digital asset management. The Asia Pacific region leads the world in real digital asset usage, with on-chain activity up roughly 70% year over year. Singapore sits at the center of that growth. With this expanded scope of payment activities, we can better support the institutions driving that growth by offering a broad suite of regulated payment services, bringing faster, more efficient payments to our customers. Guys, this is a huge announcement from Ripple, and it builds on top of everything that we already witnessed from Ripple this year. Again, I understand how easy it is to get caught up in the price chart and just looking at the chart. However, look at what has happened in just the last couple months. On the 27th, guys, this announcement got made 3 days after this announcement. Compliance and trust are non-negotiables for institutional finance. That's why RLUSD has been greenlisted by Abu Dhabi's FSRA, enabling its use as collateral on exchanges for lending and on prime brokerage platforms within AD Global Market, the International Financial Center of Abu Dhabi. This is a huge milestone for them. This happened 3 days prior to this. Then we got another one in October. Next up, the Kingdom of Bahrain. We're expanding our presence in the Middle East through our partnership with Bahrain Fintech Bay. This was another big one to accelerate crypto adoption and to drive solutions like Ripple Custody and RLUSD to key institutional players in the region. Then in September, we know that Casey Craddock from Ripple was talking to major players from the UK, including, of course, major players from the US government. This was to address a new task force that was being created for crypto. This is to have a partnership between the UK and the US in financial services to pretty much create this new task force to lead closer cooperation between the US and the UK on digital assets, creating an opportunity to align on stablecoins, tokenization, and cross-border market access, as well as settling a template for international cooperation in our industry. And yes, Ripple played a key role in this with, of course, Casey there in the UK. Outside of that, Ripple expanded in Spain with BBVA through their custody platform. Prior to that, we also know RLUSD started up in Africa back in September. Another huge one. Outside of that, another big announcement back in August with SBI bringing RLUSD to Japan in early 2026. Prior to that, Ripple has secured regulatory approval from the Dubai Financial Services Authority, making us the first blockchain payments provider licensed in the DIFC. Also, another expansion in South Korea. And prior to that, another expansion into Portugal. Guys, all of this has happened in just the last 10 months alone. We are witnessing some of the biggest moves from Ripple, and this most recent one is very exciting. It's very exciting because it does involve both RLUSD and XRP. But we also get an insight on exactly what Ripple is offering these institutional players, and it is a powerhouse tech stack that's going to power a large portion of this new system, in my opinion, especially considering the fact that what Ripple is offering here completely cuts out the need for banking relationships, specialized infrastructure, and even direct digital asset management. Ripple provides everything They are fully hands-on, allowing these big players to essentially just tap in, and that's it. This is that all-in-one platform. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because of more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.